The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is the official. This is, in fact, the aftermath of Junto Nakatani versus Ryosuke Nishida. Junto Nakatani doing a demolition job on Nishida, and obviously the bigger matter at play here, the bigger matter at hand here, moving into the future as we progress forward in the career of Junto Nakatani, in the career of Naoya Inoue, is in fact that right there, the super fight, the impending super fight. We are on the road to what is expected to be the biggest fight in the history of Japanese boxing. So we're going to talk about that, talk about, Junto's performance, where he's going, what the steps could be towards the Inoue fight, comments he made, all that good stuff here on True School Sports. And then we're also going to talk about some other things in boxing. Teofimo Lopez, supposedly, he was wearing a PBC hat, so now there's speculation that he may sign to PBC. And then also we will touch a little bit upon, Terrence Crawford and Canelo and the fight of the century getting formally announced with the whole press tour and everything. So a lot to discuss in our beloved sport. But listen, while we're here right now, shout out to everybody joining the live right now. Make sure you guys do me a favor and do the other people out there in the world a favor. Smash that like button so this video gets pushed out to as many people as humanly possible so they can hear some world-class boxing content. I know right now back in the States, because I'm in, by the way, still in Japan. I'm reporting to you guys live and direct from Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. I'm doing my thing out here. I'm still patiently awaiting the most exciting fight on the schedule, one of the most explosive fights of 2025 between Brian Norman Jr. and Jintazaki. Right now as it stands, we're 8 days away, so I'll be at the fight. If anybody's gonna be at the fight, let me know. And I'd love to meet some of you guys out there. But yeah, it's 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it's 10:10 a.m. Pacific, 12:10 Central. So shout out to everybody back home in the States. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments down below. But before I get into boxing and before I get into Nakatani and Inoue and all those wonderful, magnificent things in Japan, let me take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that are already here, the great people that are already in the comment section, making their presence felt and chiming in. So shout out to my main man, Jeffrey the Pig. He says, hold on, let me go right here because it's easier. My man Jeffrey the Pig says, where is it? Hey, BT, what's up, Jeffrey? Good to see you, champ. Hope all is well. My man Chance says, BT, I think Junto should fight the rest of his career at 122. He is talking about going up to 126 for Rafael Espinoza. Listen, I think he has the frame to fight at 126. Whether or not he has the physical strength or the durability to fight at 126, that's a discussion that's a whole different discussion on its own. But he definitely has the frame. I think he'd have to get physically stronger. I think, he'd have to get tested. At 122 a little bit, go through some fire at 122 before he's ready for that smoke at featherweight. But I think because it's not really him. Let's be real. It's not really Junto talking about Espinoza. That's more like Rudy Hernandez and just him being ambitious. So I don't think that's happening. I think that's just all talk. My man TSM says, is it true that Seiya Tsutsumi has agreed to fight Yoshiki Takei? Maybe he has. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me wipe my nose right now because damn, bro, my nose is itching. But as far as Yoshiki Takei and Tsutsumi, anything that Tsutsumi wants to do right now, they gotta he has to heal up from his cut. His eye. He has problems with his eye. He got surgery recently as well. So it doesn't matter whether he wants to or if he agreed or not. He has to heal up first. But I hope so. I hope they fight because I've been very adamant that Seiya Tsutsumi is gonna run right through Yoshiki Takei. Yoshiki Takei, at least in Japan, he's getting in my opinion, he's getting too much shine. He's getting too much notoriety, and I think, I know he has a lot of notoriety from kickboxing and then he's with Ohashi Gym, but. Nah, man. For my liking, he's just a tad bit overrated. So I need Tsutsumi to start getting screwed by the powers that be in Japan and get his shot because he's one of the most exciting fighters from Japan, and just one of the most exciting fighters in boxing. Period. He's one of the boxing's best action fighters. Enrique Luna says, great win for Nakatani and your Panthers. are in cruise control. Yeah, hey, shout out to the pride of South Florida, the Florida Panthers. They beat the brakes off the Oilers 6-1 and gained through the Stanley Cup final. So that means the Panthers are only 2 wins away from being the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And if that happens, guys, forget hockey. The Florida Panthers are the best team in sports. So, don't let them win again, or I'll be very insufferable. Couple more comments, and then we'll get into Nakatani and Inoue. Mooney's Gamble says Keyshawn was being an egomaniac to Charlotte and kind of seemed personal, but Keyshawn wins 1 belt, and he's moving with the ego of Floyd. Yeah, a lot of fighters are like that. Unfortunately. That's why I think one of the most important things for fighters is the company they keep. It's important to have good friends that keep it real with you and have your best interests at heart and aren't afraid to tell you what you don't want to hear, because if the ego is left unchecked and left to its own vices, that can happen to you. You can become an egomaniac and think that you are all that your shit doesn't stink. So hey, it's a learning lesson for everyone. Keisha has to go through it, and that's all I'll say about that. My man right here, man, Ollie Jess says, yo, BT, what's up? What's good, champ? How you living? Hope all is well. What did I think of Tension's performance? I thought he looked very good, and glad to see he get a title shot as he ranks number 1 in Estrada. I thought Tension boxed very, very well. I think it was the most polished fight he's boxed in his pro career so far. I think Gaio Estrada seems to be one of the Gaio Estrada and Yoshiki Takei seem to be the 2 names that they're throwing out there for him right now. So I think that's what we'll get. I hope it gets due Tension versus Takei and not Gaio, because I feel like I'm getting tired of the older guard of guys at 115 getting beat up, because now it's making them seem like they weren't like that and they weren't that good in their prime. And I don't like seeing people. I don't like seeing people discredit guys that I know were truly great, with Gaio and Chocolatito and these kind of guys. They're older now. They had their time, and Justin Todd, shout out to you, said facts. Shout out to Justin Todd. Reverse Lee, good buddy, Reverse Lee. I was just talking to Reverse Lee on Instagram. Tuesday True School, that's right. Tuesday True School, Monday True School, Friday True School, every day True School. What's good? We here. Smash the like button, guys. Off topic, what do I think about the no running rule? Should it be added on boxing? Now, look, somebody asked me this question. I've never watched the Showbiz video, but I've heard about it. I think the no running rule is one of the gayest things I've heard in boxing in quite some time. That's my take on that. Takei is pretty exciting too. Defensively, he is unblessed though. It is interesting that he hasn't picked up as much as Nazakawa yet. He is a champion. Well, because he's not as big of a star as Nazakawa. Nazakawa was, to my understanding, he was like that guy. Like, he was the face of kickboxing in Japan. So yeah, Tension's overrated a little bit. Takei is overrated. So, in my opinion, I think the 2 best bantamweights were Junto and Tsutsumi, but the powers that be in Japan, they don't see that themselves. All right, last comment, and then I'll get into Junto. And I appreciate everybody here. Make sure you smash the like button and definitely subscribe for new and super chat, all that good stuff. We here, the Untouchable True School Sports Empire, Wednesday in the wee hours of the morning in Japan, Tuesday afternoon in the States. Hope you're good wherever you're at in the world. Do I see Hayato Tsutsumi becoming a world champion? Yes, I think at some point he will become a world champion. One of the better fighters from Japan, and definitely one of the best fighters at 130. It's just that he doesn't have the fanfare of like Inoue or Junto, because there's a lot of fighters from Japan to compete with for attention. He's not getting it right now, but I think in due time he will. So yeah. That being said, let me go ahead and get into my talking points, because the main idea of this live is the aftermath of Junto Nakatani versus Inoue. This is, in fact, the road to Inoue Nakatani, the biggest fight in the history of Japanese boxing. By the way, shout out to my boy, and tip of the cap goes to my boy, my partner in crime, Sean Zettel. I was just on Sean's channel. We did a collaboration video where we spoke about the fight. It's about 20 minutes long, so if you want to go check that out, go to his channel. It's there, and definitely go. I hope people out there, especially people from Japan, hope you guys support us. We both want to cover that fight when it happens in Japan. So fingers crossed it can happen. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Junto Nakatani destroys Nishida easily, a brave Nishida. And I think, really and truthfully, guys, and I've said this before, and I'll say it, I'll re-emphasize this again. Junto Nakatani, with each passing fight, with each passing performance, is becoming one of the most dominant fighters in boxing because there's not letdowns. There's not he's not fighting down to his level of competition. If anything, in this case, they stepped up the competition and he fought even better this fight than he does than he normally does. So let's go to screen share because I want to kind of dissect that for a second. Just the Nishida fight and Junto being one of the most dominant fighters in boxing. So we'll go to screen share. All right, so we're on BoxRec now. So Junto, you see his record, guys. On paper, his record looks great because it is a great record to have. He's 31-0, 24 knockouts. I'm gonna say he's what three division champ. I think he's a 3-division champion at this point, 2 or 3 division champion because he was bantamweight. Was he bantamweight, flyweight? Yeah, bantamweight, superfly. And flyweight, yeah, because I keep forgetting he fought at flyweight. It's kind of hard to think of Junto Nakatani as a flyweight because he's so big and long and rangy that you don't and tall. You don't think of him as a flyweight, but yeah, he's a 3-division champion: flyweight, bantamweight, and yeah, flyweight, super bantamweight, and bantamweight. Or no, flyweight, super flyweight, and bantamweight. So 112, 115, 118, 3-division champion. So look. When you look at his record, and you can say a quick synopsis of what he's done in the last 2 years, right? So, in late 2023, in September of 2023, he fought RG Cortez. Very tough fighter. And it wasn't a hard. If you watch the fight, it wasn't a hard fight for him. Cortez was durable and took a good shot, but he didn't really win too many rounds, if any. Like he barely won. I don't think he won any rounds. To be honest with you, he might have won 2 rounds. But that was the last guy to take him the distance. And ever since then, Junto Nakatani has been on a warpath. Anybody and everybody in his path since that fight, not only has he knocked him out, which is impressive enough on its own, but fights are not even getting to the second half. Because if you look at it, you guys can read for yourself. Alexander Santiago won the WBC title against him at bantamweight. Knocked him out in 6 rounds. Vincent Lastrolabio, 1-round knockout. Tasana Salapat, Salapat was a cherry pick. Had a very padded record of 76-1, but nonetheless, 6 rounds. Got him out of there. David Cuellar was supposed to be a tough, big, strong Mexican to give him some resistance, give him a tough fight, give him a good fight. 3 rounds. Got him out of there. And then the most impressive of them all was this weekend. He fought Ryosuke Nishida, probably one of the more overlooked fighters in Japan because he doesn't have a big social media following. He doesn't have he's not like one of the most heavily promoted fighters from Japan, but he's world champion and he beat Emmanuel Rodriguez. And he's crafty and he punches a lot more effectively and better than his 2 knockouts in 10 fights coming in would have suggested. And you saw that in the fight. Junto had to make some minor adjustments in this fight, but once he made those adjustments, he made them quickly and he beat the living hell out of this guy. And this is a guy in Nishida who is not a nobody. Like this guy is a legitimate, undefeated champion in his prime, with his best boxing in front of him, who was actually having some success in those early rounds. But as the fight wore on, as the old boxing saying goes, class tells over time, and the class showed itself to be immense and very wide over time. And Junto Nakatani didn't just beat Ryosuke Nishida; he closed his orbital bone. And when you're fighting another undefeated fighter, unifying titles, and you're not gonna go out in the 6th round, stopping a guy in the 6th round, breaking his orbital bone, closing his eye in the 6th round, that's pound for pound. That's like top tier, upper echelon, creme de la creme type stuff. So I'm looking at Junto Nakatani, who I still feel needs more better competition on his resume, but still, everyone they put in front of him, he's not fighting down the competition, and that's the sign of a great fighter. When a fighter fights people that are at his level or below, and he just outclasses them every single time in dominant fashion, that's a great indicator that a guy isn't just good, but he potentially could be a great fighter. And I don't throw that word great around loosely. I think Junto Nakatani has the chance to become a great fighter. So that's what it is there. So yeah, let me see. Let me go ahead and get us some more comments because there are some people that are chiming in. My man Rafa Ali says Brian Norman saw the poster that you posted. Well, Brian Norman saw me. I saw Brian Norman like 2 or 3 days ago at Ohashi Gym. I did interview him. I got to edit the interview, so expect the interview to be out in the next day or so. It's like 30 minutes long, so it'll be out soon. And when that interview drops, guys, I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. It's one of the best interviews I've ever done, and you guys won't be disappointed. They did not disappoint. Inoue has to get past MJ first. Yeah, and I know. And I'm very scared about Inoue getting dropped or hurt, because he's not really working. He's not really improving his defense, and I think he's getting so accustomed to knocking guys out that part of his skill set is not being fully corrected. So my thing is like, MJ can punch. He's got deep amateur background. It wouldn't shock me if he hit him and Inoue got folded up, but I'm picking Inoue still. I think it might be more difficult than expected for Inoue to get on the inside past Nakatani with the jab. Exactly, Chance. And it's not just the jab. I think it's the jab. I think it's his legs. He's got great legs for his size. He moves very well for his size. Has a fantastic jab. And the biggest thing that I think will be that Inoue will have to overcome against Junto is volume, because I've always said this for years. I feel like whoever that guy may be, to beat Inoue, I think one of the qualities that fighter would have a chance to beat him is the ability to be a volume puncher, which Junto Nakatani definitely has. So I think that'll be a big thing to overcome. BT, who would you like to see Junto fight if he fights before Inoue? That's a great question. So let me answer that question. Let me use that to segue into the next point. Let me use that to segue into the next point. So really and truthfully, like what I want to unpack here, guys, is what is and what could be the plan for Junto Nakatani, because the reality is this: Inoue has to fight Mirja Akmadaliyev. They're saying September. Then they're saying he's going to go up to the featherweight for Nick Ball, right? So let's just assume and presume that he has 2 fights. Okay, well, Junto's not going to sit on his ass and do nothing. He's going to try to stay sharp too and level up as well. So you have to ask the question of what is the plan for Junto as a super bantamweight? Who are some guys that he's going to fight? And guys, viewers, chat, the lovely boxing fans of True School Sports, we've already gotten our answer, even though it's not a direct answer, because I don't know if y'all saw this, but Louis Neri, it was reported here on Yahoo Japan that Louis Neri, once a very, very dark and negative figure in Japanese boxing, Louis Neri has signed a 5-fight contract to fight in Japan, and this was reported by TV Azteca. So, Neri is going to go ahead and, fight in Japan 5 times. They're saying it'll be 2 times this year in 2025 and 3 times next year in 2026. Now, we know Neri has a long history with Japanese boxing. I mean, he fought Shinsuke Yamanaka all those years ago in 2 very controversial fights. Got banned by the Japanese boxing commission for missing weight. Then they lifted the lifetime ban, which I guess wasn't lifetime, for Inoue, for Inoue to fight him at the Tokyo Dome, and he did, right? And that was a big event here in Japan. And then he even followed up by fighting Tomoe Kameda's cousin, Kiyonosuke Kameda. So he's had 4 fights against Japanese fighters, 3 fights in Japan. If he fights 5 more times in Japan, that'll be 8 fights in Japan for a Mexican fighter. No Mexican fighter, except maybe like Ricardo Lopez, possibly has ever fought that many times in Japan. So Neri said the following, and I quote, what do you say? He said right here, "I am definitely the Mexican who has fought the most in Japan right now. I have fought 3 fights in Japan, and I won 2 of them. Inoue beat me in the other one. I think I'm the Mexican who has fought the most in Japan. And if I fight 5 fights in Japan, I think I will be the Mexican who has fought the most in Japan." So he wants to stick his flag in the ground and fight in Japan. So naturally, right, Neri is a featherweight now, but Louis Neri is a smaller guy. So he strikes me as the kind of guy that could drop back down to 122. Or if there's any truth to Junto Nakatani wanting to fight at featherweight, then he could always go there to fight him. But I think that's an option. I think Louis Neri is a genuine option for Nakatani. If not him, if not Neri, let's go to the rankings. All right, let's go to the rankings. If we go to the rankings at 122, I know Inoue just fought Ramon Cardenas, right? Cardenas has a big name in Japan. Don't be surprised, maybe Ramon Cardenas, because Ramon Cardenas still has a very high ranking, and I've been hearing through the grapevine from people I know in boxing, and it's been thrown out there on Twitter that Ramon Cardenas might be fighting for like the interim title. So we'll see who it's against. Maybe that winds up being a fight, Cardenas versus Nakatani. If not that, you still got guys like Marlon Tapales who have fought Inoue. You've got I'm looking at Marlon Tapales. I'm looking at Ramon Cardenas, Luis Neri. Those are the kind of names I'm thinking. What do you guys think of those fights? I think those are all really interesting fights. I like that fight with him and Cardenas because I feel like Cardenas stock's at an all-time high. Cardenas is very heavy-handed, and that'd be a good introductory fight. Junto has to have his durability tested, so what better way than to fight the guy that Inoue just dropped and had a very hard fight with. I like that fight. If not him, I mentioned Marlon Tapales. Look, Marlon Tapales, former world champion, a guy that he's a guy that really and truthfully is still a tough out for anybody at 122. I mean, there's plenty of options for him as far as names and fights that make sense from a business perspective. Well, what do you guys think? Because when I think of super bantamweight, those are the fights that come to mind. Those are the fights that I think make a lot of sense for Junto Nakatani. Let me see. We got my man Pager right here. He says, where is it? He said, I just seen a comment. Where'd it go? I saw a comment from he says, true, I'm telling you that Shushu versus Junto 126, if Inoue beats Ball, you have a WBC champion and WBA unification. It would be the biggest fight in Japanese history. It would be. It definitely would be. I don't think Shushu will fight Junto at 126. I think the play for Shushu, because right now his next fight is scheduled for July 26th next month against the African Matias Heita. He has to beat him, and they're fighting for a WBC interim title. So if he beats him, I think the winner of that fight becomes a mandatory for the winner of Ray Vargas and Carlos Castro. And then if whoever comes out of that whole 4-man mini tournament, I think as champion that will be a potential option for Inoue at featherweight. But look, Inoue versus Junto will be a big fight regardless of if it's unification or not. The belts aren't what make that fight a big fight. It's the fact that both these guys are on the pound for pound list. Two Japanese fighters in their prime, in their prime pretty much. I would say Inoue's towards the end of his prime, but still in his prime. Junto's heading towards his prime. It's a huge fight, and there's never been a fight of this magnitude in Japan between two fighters at this level with these kind of implications on the world level of boxing. So it's a one-off event. So I think that's what makes the fight big, not the belts. The belts are just a bonus. Have you gotten a chance or a date to interview with Jin Suzuki yet? No, I haven't. I reached out to him. I haven't heard anything back. I'm not sure I'll get it, and if I don't get it, I'm not really too bothered about it because I can always get Jin after the fight. I know the guy. I know the guys at the gym very well, so I could always get it later on. But no, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything yet. Shout out to Caleb on his lunch break. He says Brian Norman versus Sasaki will be like Ippo versus the black dude he fought in the tournament. Everybody keeps saying that. Everyone keeps saying it's gonna be like that. That's funny. It's a good analogy. It's good to see we have like cultured people here on True School Sports that watch amazing shows like Hajime no Ippo. That's one of my favorite shows too. Dr. Spackle wants to know what happened with Hrgovic versus Sanchez. What is next for him, and did you make contact with him after the Joyce fight? I told him congratulations and I said hello, but I didn't really talk to him too deeply. I was busy with some other stuff, and I mean they said it was gonna happen, and I guess not. They haven't put it on any cards, so I'm here waiting to, just like you. Maybe I have to reach out to Hrgovic to myself and get to the bottom of it. That's all I can tell you for now. He might also fight that fool Casemiro as he is a known name throughout Asia. Yeah, but I don't think they want a chance. Casemiro coming in, missing weight, being undisciplined, and making a whole shit show of the event. For that reason, I think they won't chance it. But you never know. You might be right. But Casemiro, he just missed. He fought Saul Sanchez 6 or 8 months ago, and he missed weight. So do they really want to roll the dice and chance it? I just can't see it. Let me see. Let me see. Shout out to everybody here. We got a lot of good comments here. all 48 of you guys here. So hit that like button, subscribe, super chat. We here True School Sports live on Wednesday morning in Japan, Tuesday afternoon in the States, giving to you guys that world-class boxing talk, raw and uncut. Again, people, Inoue has to pass MJ first. Turkey's making that fight happen. Everything else is theoretical. That's true. He do gotta get past him, and it's not a gimme fight, especially with Inoue not really tightening up his defense, which I'm gonna keep harping on it because I keep seeing people say that I'm hating on Inoue because I'm bringing it up. No, man, he's such a great fighter. I'm just highlighting a flaw. He's such an amazing offensive fighter and such a A-level athlete that he's so dominant as he hasn't had to worry about defense because it doesn't matter. He can win how he is. But against a guy like Junto, he's going to have to be a little bit different and a little bit better. That's how I feel. No one will beat Inoue at 126. Even Espinoza, he dominates Nakatani. No one at 120. Well, hey, we all have our opinions. I definitely don't agree with that, but, to each their own. Taraji would beat pound for pound in any other era. It's unfortunate that he's in an era with 2 all-time Japanese greats. Listen. Let me correct you, Pedro, because I'm gonna do a video soon because I want to do this myself. I'm gonna start keeping a track. I'm gonna have a Japanese boxing pound for pound list, and I'm gonna tell you guys this right now. When I do that list, Junto Nakatani will not be above Kenshiro because Junto Nakatani doesn't have as much of a resume as Kenshiro. Kenshiro's resume blows Junto's Nakatani's resume out the water. Maybe like in a couple years, Junto will surpass Kenshiro's accomplishments. But as of right now, Junto is not. You can't put him above Kenshiro. Kenshiro is he's had a better career than Junto so far because he's more deeper into his career. But he's on the pound for pound list. He's like number 8 or 9 on Ring Magazine. I feel like, truth be told, I did a video. A lot of people didn't like it. I did a video back in like late last year, and I said that over the last 5 years, the guy that's fought the toughest competition from Japan is actually Kenshiro. It's not even Inoue. Like he doesn't have like a Yi Jun Kim soft touch on his resume. All his fights are like top guys. So shout out to my man Kenshiro holding it down. One of the best fighters in the world. And shout out to my man Felipe, one of the best subscribers on True School Sports and just a overall great guy, one of my great friends in life. He says, yo, nothing in life is free. Hit the like for BT unless you don't like it. If not, then get the fuck out of here. That's my Felipe. You tell these people. Tell them. I'm over here in Japan. I done spent a whole lifetime, damn near a decade, going from the ringers of boxing, learning my craft, perfecting my craft, really learning about this fight game on a deep and profound level so that I can come back here and give you guys, game and knowledge that you can't get nowhere else on YouTube because a lot of YouTubers, they're not in training camps. They're not connected like your boy BT's connected, So, I do my best to be resourceful to the boxing fans and to the fighters that I know personally. And if you ask any of the fighters that know me on a personal level, especially the ones that like I advise or I'm an unofficial advisor for, they'll tell you. They'll say, yo, that boy Truce, that boy BT, he's out here saving lives, changing lives and saving lives, and making dreams come true. Ask Pete Dobson that, So thank you, Felipe. Appreciate you and hope all is well out there in Hawaii. Let me see. Taraji was up there before Inoue Nakatani. In Japan, he is more well-known and more popular than Nakatani. He's definitely more popular than Junto. Junto is still getting his name out there. And I think it'll grow as he continues to fight and his name gets attached to Inoue. But as of right now, Kenshiro is still the bigger star. I would still have him above Junto. On my own personal pound-for-pound list for the whole world, I think I got Kenshiro like number 7. And Junto, I think, is like number 8 or 9. So he's close to Kenshiro. I think Kenshiro's done more. So I respect longevity. Kenshiro won his first world title in 2017. I think he's got like 13 career world title defenses. He's unified titles. He's 5-time world champion, 2 weight classes. I mean, the boy is pound for pound. And y'all got to recognize greatness when you see it. Yes, he's very, very underappreciated. And that's why anytime his name comes up, I give him his flowers because I feel like a lot of people don't give him his flowers, and they don't realize how good of a fighter he is. He's one of the very few fighters in boxing I can honestly say is must see TV any and every time he fights. So yeah, shout out to the amazing boy, one of my favorite fighters in history. Anyway, last thing, and then we'll switch gears and get off the Inoue Nakatani. But shout out to everybody here who's tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. Definitely follow Felipe's example and definitely super chat and do all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and screen share. So Inoue went ahead and he put out the statement. He welcomed Nakatani to the super bantamweight division. He stated the following, and I quote, "Welcome to the super bantamweight division. It would be exciting to see such a strong Japanese fighter." So Inoue's already letting you guys know, like, look, Junto, my eyes are set on you. I want the smoke. I want to fight you. He's putting it out there. So it's starting to get real. It all started a couple months ago at the Japanese Boxing Commission Awards when Inoue called him out face to face. Now he's putting it out there, and yeah, they're already targeting out here in Japan. The date is for May at the Tokyo Dome. So anybody in the States that want to come to Japan, start saving your money, start putting it together in your head. May is going to be around May of next year is the time that they're targeting. But of course, it's theoretical at this point because of course Inoue has to fight MJ. Junto's going to have some fights before then. So these guys got to keep winning. These guys got to keep kicking ass and taking names in the ring because if any of them, if one of them slips up, if Junto loses to like anybody, if Inoue loses to anybody, then poof, just like that, the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history will go up in smoke. Which I'm okay with. Like sometimes I don't like in boxing when they talk about a big fight for too damn long and they say, yeah, we'll do it in 2 fights. It's like, no, man, you got fighters all around the world that have their own dreams, have their own ambitions. They want to change their family's life. They want to make big money, and they're not gonna just fall to the wayside because you want to do a big event. Like, no. So sometimes part of me is like, yo, I like when these big fights get spoiled because it's just fun. Like it's awesome when it happens. But yeah, nonetheless, Inoue is welcoming him to the division, and it's starting to feel more and more like a reality as time passes. But Nishida was speaking to the media, and he was speaking about his strategy, and basically they had asked Junto about like whether or not this fight, the strategy he had for the Nishida fight, if he fight the same way against Inoue. So to that, Junto said, "That's nonsense, isn't it?" He said, look, it says right here, it says, against Nishida, he chose a strategy for going forward, even if he was rough around the edges and inflicting damage on his opponent. No matter where on his body, when asked if he thought this would work in a fight against Inoue, he simply replied, "That's nonsense, isn't it?" He emphasized that it wasn't a strategy, that it was a strategy he only had to use for Nishida, and said that he would get well prepared for the fight against Inoue. So I'm sure when you translate that from Japanese to English, it don't translate quite the same. Pretty sure what's trying to be translated there is that Junto Nakatani is not going to box Inoue the same way, and vice versa. I don't think Inoue would approach Junto the same way. They're both too skilled and equally destructive for them to fight each other the way they fight everyone else. So I would expect there to be some tweaks, some wrinkles, some kinks in the armor. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this. Inoue, I'm starting to get a little concerned for him. I'm being honest. And if people think I'm being some sort of hater, like I see a lot of comments where people like to flap their gums and say that supposedly I hate Inoue because he didn't give me an interview or whatever. And I really wish you guys would understand. Like, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't give a fuck who does or doesn't give me an interview. I'm only concerned with who wants to actually give me an interview. I'm not here to chase these fighters down. So I don't hate Inoue. I love him. He's still one of my favorite fighters, even if they won't give me an interview with him, and that's fine. But I'm concerned for him because Junto Nakatani, I feel like, is entering his prime. I think Inoue is starting to exit his prime. I really believe that. And look how big Junto is. Now look, this is Brian Norman Jr. Obviously, if you look at the shoulders, Brian Norman Jr.'s shoulders are wider than Junto Nakatani. He has a bigger frame than Junto Nakatani. But the fact that they are the same height, damn near eye level, that lets you know about just the frame that Nakatani carries as a bantamweight going up to super bantamweight. You know, he's basically welterweight height, but he doesn't have the welterweight frame, but he has welterweight height on him. And he definitely has the frame to at least fight at featherweight and potentially even 130. I still think Junto got to get stronger. I still think Junto has to get, stronger physically because, of course, when you go to featherweight and these other weight classes, 122, guys that have more strength. But he has the frame to really give Inoue problems. And when I break down that fight, as I've been breaking it down a little bit more, I've been watching more film on both guys, studying tendency, studying like what they do well, what they don't do well. I feel as though I feel as though what I think will be the most problematic thing for Inoue to have to overcome against Junto won't be his power. It won't even be his height. I think the most problematic thing for Inoue to overcome against Junto Nakatani is going to be his volume. Because Inoue, when you break him down as a fighter, he does a lot of things great. He's where he's at in his career for a reason. He's arguably the best fighter in the world for a reason. But when you break him down, what he does, when he's got everything working, Inoue is the most explosive mid-range fighter in boxing today. He has a very quick first step, which allows him to, close distance very fast. And so it makes him very good from the outside, but it makes him deadly from mid-range. Inside, he's not a terrible inside fighter, but I wouldn't classify him as an inside fighter. That's not like what he loves to do. He's a mid-range fighter who can explode from the outside and get to the mid-range. That's really, when he's at his best, that's what he's doing in the ring. But the way you offset that, one of the ways you can offset that is by being the volume puncher and putting him on his back foot. Now, of course, you're going to have to take a lot of punishment to try to even do that. So it's a lot easier said than done. It's not as simple as it sounds. But a lot of the guys that he's fighting, they're not volume punchers. Like Yi Jun Kim is not a volume puncher. Ramon Cardenas is a puncher, and he does have a good output, but I wouldn't call him a volume puncher. He's not that kind of fighter, There's only a handful of like elite volume punchers in and around 122 and 126. Junto is one of them, so that's why I give Junto a chance to win. It's why Espinosa. It's one of the reasons why Espinosa would have a great chance to beat Inoue, and it's also a great reason why Enzo Lee would have a great chance to beat Inoue, because if you are a volume puncher, you can actually offset Inoue getting into the mid range and exploding, and you could put him on the back foot, and you could have to make him maybe dig into his toolbox a little bit. So I feel like that's the biggest thing that Inoue will have to overcome when he does fight Junto Nakatani. When I break that fight down, and yeah, I mean Junto Nakatani. I'll put it to y'all like this. I think the best case for Inoue would be to fight merge on and then go right into the Junto fight. I think if he lets Junto get 2 more fights in, especially at 122, he's running himself a big risk. And I'll be honest with you, I'd be inclined to pick Junto by decision if he gets 2 more fights in and get some rounds. The only thing with Junto that's concerning me is that nobody's getting past the 6th round. So if Junto can get 2 more fights in, and if Junto could, at least get some rounds and get a win, then I'm telling you guys right now, I'm probably gonna pick him by decision. I don't think Inoue will knock him out, but I also don't think Inoue is gonna outwork him either. I think if it gets down to a fight that goes the distance, I think the guy that I favor if the fight goes the distance is Junto Nakatani by decision. I think his work rate will be too much. But if they get into exchanges and it's punch for punch, then I think that favors Inoue, if that makes sense. So those are my thoughts on the fight, and I guess those are my my thoughts on Inoue Nakatani. And yeah, you guys can give yours in the chat down below. I know we got a lot of people chiming in, giving great comments. Let me go ahead and get some of your guys' comments. Shout out to everybody here. Let me see. Let me take a sip of water. Because for some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, guys, I don't know what happened or why, but I think I'm a little sick because my throat's been like, I'm coughing a little bit. So my voice is a little hoarse, but I'm here. I'm making it happen. Let me see. My man right here says, how much does it cost to watch a fight in Japan compared to America? Okay. Well, for context, right? So the Jin Tazaki fight, the cheapest ticket to the Jin Tazaki fight right now, and that's a world title fight. It's a good fight at a good venue at the Ota City General Gymnasium. the cheapest ticket's like 11,000 yen, which in American dollars is $75. So it's affordable. But I would imagine, and I would fully anticipate that for Naoya Inoue, it'd be more. Now, full disclosure, before I got a press pass to cover the Inoue Yi Jun Kim fight here last time, I did buy a ticket. I bought a very cheap ticket from somebody that I knew, and I think my ticket, if I remember correctly, my ticket was like $180, and it was way up in the upper deck. So if that's what it was for like Kim, then I can't imagine what it would be for Junto. So it was like 170 or 150. I can't remember what it was. I just remember that it was $100 something. So there's a rough estimate. Let me see. My man Reverse Lee says Kenshiro, Nakatani, Inoue all beat the shit out of Bam. I don't know about that one. Bam and Inoue is never gonna happen because they're too far apart in weight. That's not happening. So chuck that one away. As far as Bam versus like Kenshiro, I would say that's a pick'em. I don't favor nobody in that fight. That's a pick'em to me. I love that fight. And as far as Bam versus Nakatani, I'm going with Nakatani. I got Nakatani over Bam. But I wouldn't say that they beat the shit. Bam's a damn good fighter in his own right. Can't discredit Bam. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Bam's at a great age now. He's got some experience. He's been in there with some good fighters. I don't know about that one. And trust me, I'm the president of the Kenshiro American Fan Club. I don't know if he would beat the shit out of Bam. Not beat him, but beat the shit out of him. That'd be impressive if he did. Do you think Inoue should use the hit and knock hit style for his defense since you think he hasn't improved his defense yet, even though he said he prefers to take risks and go for the knockout? Listen, you can have what you prefer. We all have our preferences, but you can't fight the same way against everyone, especially not like Junto Nakatani. I'm not saying that Inoue has to fight like Richardson Hitchens or Shakur or Madrimov or one of these guys that just fight negative styles. But I think that he's gonna have to be a lot like so let me unpack what I mean when I talk about Inoue's defense. When I say his defense hasn't tightened up, what I mean is that when he gets into exchanges, he leaves his head on the center line. When he exits the close range, he backs up in a straight line. He's getting away with these things because he's so much more athletic than everybody, right, that he's fighting. But against Junto, I don't think he's going to have that advantage. And I think if he makes those same things play out, they're going to, not work against him. So they're going to work against him. So I just think that, when he's throwing punches, he needs to be thinking about, okay, when you get your shit off, either slip the punch or block the punch, parry the punch, or get off to the right or to the left. Don't back up in a straight line because Junto with those long arms and his volume punching, that would be very, very problematic. So I'm not saying he has to change his style. Like, no, do what got you to the dance. Be explosive. Be that devastating mid-range boxer punch that you are. All I'm saying is after you throw your punches, be more cognizant of what's coming back at you because if in this fight against Junto, it will cost you dearly. Mizuki Hiruta, the next Japanese power, quite possibly. She's very, 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 very good. I'm not sure like what fight she has to win to get on the women's power list, but she's very, very good. I definitely say one of the great talents, upcoming talents in women's boxing, and she don't look half bad either. So that always helps. Taraji is nowhere near as washed up as Estrada, Cholatito, Cuadras, or Ramasai. He's still very active in fighting top opponents. And on top of that, if Bam Rodriguez were to fight Kenshiro, it would be the first opponent he's fought that's on the pound list just like him. So that's the biggest difference in all of it. Ooh. I want to say I definitely want to say that I don't want to be biased. I'm such a big Kenshiro fan. If you want to accuse me of being a fanboy for a fighter, you can accuse me of being a Kenshiro fanboy because I am. I love the guy. He's amazing. But even for him, like in his last fight against Seigo Yuri is a bigger fighter than Kenshiro, but Seigo Yuri is smaller than Bam, and Seigo Yuri was fighting so much success down the middle with a straight right hand. Kenshir's another one. He's gonna definitely have to tighten up his defense. Probably this statement applies more to him than Inoue because I think his defense is worse than Inoue's. His defense is more leaky than Inoue's, which is why his fight is so exciting. He cannot afford with the angles Bam takes to take as much punches as he did against a guy against Seiyori Inoue. Because if that happens against Bam, he's also going to be in trouble. You know, I would say if I had to, unbiasedly, if I made a prediction on that fight, I would say that Bam gets cut in the fight, but I think Bam winds up probably either stopping Kenshiro late or winning by decision. Just because I think Kenshiro is defensively very irresponsible. You know, but I would root my ass off for him. I love Kenshiro. And I know for like a lot of the American audience that haven't paid attention to him throughout his whole career, that will probably be the only time they watch him fight live on American television. So I would like to see him do well and get his due from a lot of people in America, because a lot of people in the States that only seen highlights, they try to discredit him. So, you know, I'm a Kenshiro fan. That Leo poll will do that. I don't know what you mean by that. So you might want to elaborate what you mean by that. Be specific, champ. BT, can you explain to us why you think Inoue is above Kenshiro? Kenshiro has clearly fought better opposition. This isn't even debatable. People are just blinded by Inoue's flashy KOs. Inoue is above Kenshiro because Inoue has gone undisputed in 2 weight classes. Even though I think Kenshiro over the last 5 years has a stronger body of work than Inoue, Inoue has fought better. He's fought like better fighters, period. Like if Stephen Fulton is a better fighter than Hiroki Kiyoguchi or Seiyori Inoue or whoever you think Kenshiro's best win is, Stephen Fulton is a more accomplished and better fighter than anybody on his resume. He's also fought Donaire. I do think as of late, his opponent selection hasn't been on the same level as Kenshiro. I think Kenshiro has been fighting better opponents as of late. But, you know, it's just like the guy has been undisputed 2 times. Kenshiro, through no fault of his own, because Jonathan Gonzalez didn't want no smoke and was pulling out of fights left, right, and center, he couldn't go undisputed at 108. And, you know, I think, look, my view of Kenshiro and Inoue and their resume is that, you know, with Inoue being undisputed twice, having as many knockouts as he does in world title fights, and being undefeated 4-division champion, it's hard to argue what you're saying right now. As much as I want to, and I love Kenshiro. I love Inoue, I love Kenshiro, but I would love to sit there and argue that, but I can't. I have to give Inoue his due. He's still the best fighter from Japan. But if Inoue were to lose a fight and have the same amount of losses as Kenshiro, then I think it'd be more of a conversation. But he's been one of the most dominant fighters in all of boxing for so long. You can't put him above. You can't put Kenshiro above Inoue yet. Now, you said your throat wasn't feeling right. So you want to get blocked? You want to get blocked, champ? Over here talking crazy. You trying to get blocked, YCS? Talking that shit? No, man. If Kenshiro beats Bam, if Kenshiro beats Bam Rodriguez, you know, I'll definitely I think then you could definitely really make the argument. But right now, I think you gotta give it to Inoue. YCS says, I'm just playing, bro. Nah, you're good. I didn't care. Good to see you. Who do I think will win between Fulton and Oshaki Foster? I would say right now, Stephen Fulton. I think Stephen Fulton's going to do it. I think Stephen Fulton's going to be a 3-division champion. I think he's got more styles he can fight, and I think that Oshaki Foster kind of just goes through the gear sometimes, and he's very good. Like, when you let Oshaki Foster just box at a slow pace behind the jab, he can beat you easy, but Stephen Fulton ain't going to do that. And I'll tell you one thing about this. Stephen Fulton is going to be up for this fight. This is Stephen Fulton. If Stephen Fulton beats Oshaki Foster, I think now you could actually start to make a slight case for the Hall of Fame. Because when you factor in all the guys, all the undefeated fighters he beat, and then him being a 3-division champion, you know, that's like pound for pound type stuff. I'm not saying that Foster would make him a Hall of Fame fighter, but I'm saying it's a kind of fight that would start to get him that in that discussion and maybe get into the Hall of Fame. So I think he's going to be up for this fight like he has been up for a fight in a long, long time. So I'm expecting the best Stephen Fulton. he's been, and he's talking about Inoue, he's been the most dominant boxer ever, at least objectively. Inoue probably has lost less than 10 rounds in his entire career. That's true. He's barely lost any rounds. I mean, and he's only had what, 2 or 3 real competitive fights. Those 3 fights would be Ryoji Taguchi, Donaire 1, and probably what, Cardenas? Really? Like, that's about it, maybe. BT Inoue's best wins are against old fighters. And funny, you bring up Fulton on paper. Is Inoue's best win? It is his best win. And Stephen Fulton's a pound for pound, top tier, creme de la creme, top shelf fighter. I can't. No, Fulton was an amazing win. Like people like to downplay and act like Stephen Fulton isn't a great win. That's an amazing win for anybody to have on the resume. And Inoue's the only one that has it on his resume. So that's why he is who he is in boxing. That's one of the fights that made him who he is. I thought, in my opinion, like before he fought Inoue, I thought Fulton was already a top 10 pound fighter. He did. Stephen Fulton had a better career than Earl Spence, and everybody in America was slobbering all over Earl Spence. He had a better career than Earl Spence. He beat better fighters than Earl Spence. He had a better career than Earl Spence, and everyone is ready to put Earl Spence in the Hall of Fame. What do I think about? Okay, last question, and then I'm gonna segue into some non-Japanese stuff because there are other things that I want to talk about. What I think about Mikita Nakano, I love Mikita Nakano. That's probably one of my favorite fighters from Japan to watch right now. Japan has a lot of featherweights. I believe they got 5 guys ranked in the top 15 of the WBA, WBC, WBO, and IBF rankings at featherweight. And to me, he is the best. He's hands down the best featherweight they got right now. I think he's very dangerous, very explosive. I think he wants to go I think the route he's trying to go is the IBF route. So I do think he's going to fight Angelo in the future when he becomes a mandatory challenger. And I look forward to that fight. He's a very good fighter. LOL, Fulton is not pound for pound. He's not pound for pound right now, but before he fought Inoue, I had him on the pound for pound list for sure. Like, they put guys like Devin Haney on the pound for pound list. They put guys like even Shakur on the pound for pound list. They put guys like just a lot of overrated fighters from America, right? But if we're talking resume and who's really fought better competition, Stephen Fulton has fought better competition than a lot of the guys that have been on the pound for pound list from America. So, for me, it's not even debatable that he should have been on the pound for pound list. Yeah, and people forget because people forget. They said that everyone was saying that Inoue never fought a slick Black American fighter, and he fought one. And you saw what happened. So, on that note, I'm gonna switch gears, guys, because there's other things to talk about. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, Brennan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're live once again at 3:01 a.m. here in Japan. Right now in the States, it's what? It's 2:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:02 Central Time, and what are they? 11:02 a.m. Pacific Time. So shout out to you wherever you're at in the world. But I wanted to discuss this. I want to discuss this. Hold on. Hold on. I want to discuss this right here. This is interesting right here. So, Teofimo Lopez went on Twitter, and here he is, as you guys can see. He's rocking a PBC hat. And right now, as it stands, guys, it's unfortunate because Teofimo Lopez is one of my favorite fighters in boxing. He is from he did grow up in the same area as me. He is from South Florida. He did train at the Davy Powell. And so, I've been knowing and hearing about Teofimo Lopez since before he was even an Olympian, And I always want to see him do well. He's a product of the South Florida boxing scene. So I always want to see Teofimo Lopez win and be great. But he has been the most dysfunctional fighter in all of boxing for the last 2 years. He's turned down fights with Brian Norman Jr. He's turned down fights with Ryan Garcia. He's turned down fights with now Devin Haney, and the list goes on and on. He's not rocking a PBC hat, so is he signaling a move to PBC? Well, let's think about it, right? Let's look at if this is true, right? If this is not just a joke and he actually is gonna sign with Al Heyman and be a PBC fighter, what are the options for him? Like, what are actually the realistic options for Teofimo Lopez? Because it's not gonna be many of them. It really and truthfully ain't a whole lot of options. We do know that one of the champions is a PBC fighter at 140 because Gary Anton Russell just won a world title, so that's a potential fight. You got Alberto Puello. In fact, it's crazy because now that I'm really sitting here like talking about it with you guys, man, going to PBC would actually make a whole lot of sense with Teofimo Lopez. They got a bunch of 40-pounders. They got Gary Anton Russell. They got Puello. They got two of the other three champions. And then the crazy thing is the other champion, Richardson Hitchens, who's fighting this weekend against Kambosos, he's actually got the same manager as Teo, so they can make that fight easily anytime they want because they got the same guy managing their career. So I think this might be a strategic move from Keith Conley, Teofimo Lopez's new manager, to try and go get those belts. Because if they can, Keith Conley can make two checks. Hitchens versus Teo for undisputed. Keith Conley has fighters with all promotional companies too. Like he's got some guys at Matchroom. He's got some guys with Top Rank. So he's shown that ability to work with other promoters. So it's not going to be shocking. But I mean, even outside from the champions, PBC has Isaac Cruz. That's a big fight for Teo if he can land that fight. Yeah, I think those three fights right there. Puello, Russell, and Isaac Cruz. Those are the three fights where I feel like Teofimo Lopez can really up his star power in the States and make great money and not just that, also be in legacy. Because one thing we can say about Teo that we can't say about all these other guys is that for better or for worse, he's always chased top competition. Look at his resume: Lomachenko, Josh Taylor, Barbosa, Comey, the list goes on and on and on. Even the fights where he gets criticized, Sandor Martin, Masayoshi Nakatani at the time he fought him, he still fought them. Like even if he looked like trash or you thought he lost, he still fought them. So if you're getting in the ring and you're fighting these top guys, then you deserve credit. You deserve your respect. But yeah, I can't believe I'm gonna say this because I saw a picture. I've seen it for a couple of days now, but I haven't really put any thought into what I actually think about it until now. But man, this move makes a lot of sense. I think this move makes a lot of sense because if you're trying to become undisputed or unify or be in big fights, like two of the three biggest fights that Teo could probably make in this weight class for himself would be with PBC fighters. So why not? Why not go ahead? Why not do it? Plus, think about it. Like, Teofimo Lopez is a self-marketer. Like, the guy loves being on social media. He loves talking. The guy likes salsa dancing and does all kinds of things that draw attention on social media. Can you imagine him on the PBC platform in America? PBC, people like to criticize PBC, and, I criticize PBC sometimes. But one thing they do better than any promotional company in all of boxing is promote to mainstream America. Like they have a way of getting their fights to be relevant beyond just the small confines of the hardcore box community. So that's why I think PBC could benefit him, because Teofimo Lopez should be a bigger star than he is. So I think the move makes a lot of sense when I sit here and I break it down and I unpack it all for you guys. So yeah, that's what I think about that. What do you guys think? What do you guys make a Teofimo Lopez at PBC? Let me see. Yeah, they got Mario exactly. So, if Barrios retains that title against Pacquiao, I mean, Teofimo Lopez has talked ad nauseum about being a welterweight champion. Of course, I don't think he's gonna go and fight any of the top. Like, I don't think Teofimo Lopez will fight Brian Norman. I don't think he's gonna fight Jin or anybody that's like that. But I think he will fight Barrios. Barrios is a very winnable fight. Barrios is the weekly. Everyone knows it. Everyone in the mother knows it. That's why he's fighting Manny Pacquiao. That's why Manny Pacquiao, even at 46, has the confidence fight Barrios, because everyone in the mother knows that even though Mario Barrios is a solid fighter and we respect him as champion, that he's not the toughest guy in that division, you know, as far as the belt holders, the champions. Yeah, that was impressive. Like, you guys know, I'm not a Turkey Al Sheik guy. I've spoken a lot about Turkey. I've calmed down a lot though, because really there hasn't been. I mean, I made my point, so I don't gotta keep beating a dead horse. But I'm fair. Like, Turkey was gonna get Teofimo Lopez a fight that he's been bitching and moaning about not getting for the longest time, and then now at the 11th hour, he decided not to fight Devin Haney. So that is a duck, unfortunately. Yeah, Puello, I don't know, man. I think Puello's a bad fight for Tio. Like, if the Sandor Martin fight has taught us anything, and Jermaine Ortiz as well, that fight is terrible for Tio. I don't know if he wants that. You know, and then mind you, look, if Puello, because Puello's fighting Matias next. If he don't beat Silver Matias, then guess what? Then Teofimo Lopez has to face the music, because he could have been fought Matias a while ago, and he decided to not do that, so he may have to face the music. On Japanese pages, fans are calling Nakatani dirty because they claim he punched Nishida on the shoulder to constantly dislocate it. Well, then tell Nishida to stop being so close to Junto. Junto Nakatani does it, and they say he's being dirty. Roberto Duran does it, and they say he's a legend. Make it make sense. PBC knows how to promote. You don't see Stephen A. Smith talking about Bam Rodriguez. He talks to Charlo. It's very true. We have yet to see Bam Rodriguez appear on First Take or any major American sports platform. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Tio versus or Tio going to PBC. My man right here says, I don't care what Tio does. It's impossible to take him seriously. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I don't really take him seriously as much as I used to either, but I'm still a fan and I still want to see him do well. So I'm hoping he turns it around. Ooh. Who do you think Adam Azim will fight next, since Rodriguez don't want to fight him since he's upcoming? It's a great question. I don't know who he will fight, but I can tell you who I want to see him fight. The fight I really want to see Adam Azim in is against Ernesto Tito Mercado. I think that would be an amazing fight. If I was the commissioner of boxing, that's the fight we would get next. Tio fights top competition when he ain't on top. Big difference than being on top and fighting top. That's true. He's never done well. Like, when Teofimo Lopez is expected to win and win in sensational and impressive fashion, he doesn't perform up to par. But when his back's against the wall, like when he fought Lomachenko, everyone, like almost everyone and their mother was picking against him. Not me. I picked him that fight, and I was very adamant that he was going to beat Lomachenko and took abuse for it for months. But I was right. But I didn't pick him against Josh Taylor, and look how that's like the only great performance he's had in the last 3 years is Josh Taylor, because his back was against the wall, you know. But yeah, if we're talking about Adam Azim, the fight to make would be him and Ernesto Mercado. Their styles would mesh very, very well. I don't think like Dalton Smith and Adam Azim, they're not going to fight. They should fight each other, but they're not going to fight each other anytime soon. I just really like that fight. I did a video about it a while ago. So if you go on YouTube and type in like Ernesto Mercado, Adam Azim, True School Sports, or Adam Azim, Ernesto Mercado, True School Sports, it'll pop up. I already talked about this a while ago. Did I hear that Mercado got hurt? No, I did not. I did not hear that he got hurt. Funny enough, I was supposed to. I was reached out to by his team to interview him, and I never got back to him about it. But no, I didn't know he got hurt. No, there's no opponent as of yet for Junto. But I do think one of the guys that is in play is Luis Neri. Luis Neri just signed a 5-fight contract to fight in Japan. So I feel like, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think he's gonna fight here in Japan and be used potentially for Junto Nakatani for one of his first fights at 122. Chase says, I've been waiting to say this for a while. You and Sean are disappointed because Bud didn't fight Booth, but in my opinion, that's a Floyd Thurman situation. The eras just don't match up. Okay. You know what? I don't agree with that, but that's actually a fair comment. I'm not gonna. That's a balanced comment, so I'll give you that. Crawford had been in the game for a long time. I can see why he didn't want to fight him, because you put all this work in, and then this guy just want to fight you. Like, nah, pay your dues, pay your dues, young blood, like I had to. I know how it goes, but that's why I can't compare Terrence Crawford to somebody like a Bernard Hopkins, because Bernard Hopkins had a situation like that with Jermaine Taylor, a young guy who didn't have the resume or the accomplishments, but everybody clearly knew at the time was the best middleweight in the division. But guess what? Bernard Hopkins is a gangster, and he fight anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime. So they don't cut these fighters like Bernard Hopkins no more. But I'm not mad at that. That's okay. Let me see. What else did I have here? I had do I want to talk about that? Man, I think I'll wait a little bit before we get into Canelo versus Crawford, because you guys know I don't really like. I'm not a fan of that fight. Like, I feel like that's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be an exciting fight. Like, I'm not even hating on the fight because it's with Turkey. Like, you guys know, I'm not the biggest Turkey Al-Sheikh guy, but he's put on some fights where I've been excited. Like, I was excited for Better Be a Bivol when he made it. When he made Chris Benoit-Smith versus what fight was it? Chris Benoit-Smith versus Zordo. I was gassed for Chris Benoit-Smith versus Zordo. But so objectively, even if Turkey makes a great fight, if he makes a matchup that I think is exciting, I'll tell you guys, hey, that's a great fight right there. You got to tune into that. But I don't think Crawford versus Canelo is a great stylistic matchup. I don't see it. You got Crawford, whose power didn't even carry out to 154, going up to 168 to fight Canelo Alvarez, right? So he's going to box and move, because Canelo is a naturally bigger guy in terms of like being adjusted to 168. And Crawford's going to have a big advantage in foot speed. So he's going to box him, right? And he's a counterpuncher. Canelo Alvarez is also a counterpuncher. And generally speaking, like, some of the worst matchups in box history, style-wise, are when you put two counterpunchers in the ring. Because if you got two counterpunchers, that means both guys are going to be waiting to for the other guy to commit. And sometimes when you get two counterpunchers, fighters, many times actually, when you get two counterpunchers in the ring together, they don't commit. So if they don't commit, and the thing is this, Turkey is going to pay these guys ridiculous amounts of money. And these guys, like, let's be real, guys. This fight for Canelo and Crawford is a bonus in their careers. Their legacies are cemented. Like, both of them are going to the Hall of Fame the very first year they're up for eligibility. So it doesn't really do a whole lot for their careers, in my opinion. It adds. It's a cherry on top to their careers. But in my opinion, it just adds. Does more for Crawford than Canelo. So because of that, in my opinion, I don't think it'll be a very entertaining fight. But hopefully I'm wrong. I want it to do well, because they're both going to be under a bigger microscope than usual. The fight's going to have a lot of attention in America, more times, more than most fights. You could argue that in the USA, Crawford Canelo is the biggest fight since in the post Floyd Pacquiao era. So for the good of the sport, I would like the fight to be really, really entertaining, but I don't think it will be. Because he's well known in Japan, and they will use him to build up their. That's right, Jan. That's right. You telling the truth. They're gonna use Neri to build up the guys like Toshiki Shimamachi, Makita Nakano, Kenji Fujita, Ryuto, Owan, him. They got a bunch of guys there featherweight. Yo, BT, I know you don't like this matchup, but all I'm gonna say is this: anything happened in boxing, and Pac-Man beats Barrios, and he wants to get back into the sport. Yeah, I like Manny Pacquiao. I'm a lifelong Manny Pacquiao fan, but just please don't win this fight. If there was ever a time I want Pacquiao to lose, it's this fight, please, because I don't want to live in a world where Brian Norman or Jin or these young guys, these young killers get to fight Pacquiao and possibly beat him into fucking retirement. I'm good. Shout out to Isan, aka Mode One. What's good, Mode One? Good to see you, champ. Why don't you talk about PBC's newest signing, Alan Picasso? Because for one, I don't really care about Alan Picasso. I didn't even care about Alan Picasso when they were trying to get Inoue to fight him. In fact, if you go back and you watch those videos, I'm like, really? Like, Inoue's out here fighting painters and artists? Like, you want to fight Alan Picasso? Inoue want to fight college students? Because, Alan Picasso is like trying to get his degree, which, fair play to him. Like, get your degree. I'm not knocking anybody, further in their education, but fuck, man, like, you can fight some better guys than Alan Picasso. And I say this as somebody who's seen Alan Picasso fight like at least 3 times. He's a solid fighter, but I would like to see somebody better than him. Shout out to my boy Jan Backus, newly turned pro of Hachiochi Nakaya Boxing Gym, and my good buddy, longtime viewer. He's here supporting his friend Jin Sasaki, which I'll tell you this: if Jin Sasaki got an Inoue fight, let's just say he did beat Brian, he upsets Brian Norman Jr., he becomes WBO champion, man, he'd be a superstar. Because for one, Jin Sasaki is going to be the first Japanese welterweight champion in history if he beats Brian Norman Jr. And then you get to parlay that into a Manny Pacquiao fight, Japan versus Philippines at welterweight. That's a one-off event. There's never been a Japan versus welterweight unification fight at welterweight, so that'd be insane. Ramon Cardenas looked good against Inoue. I don't know if it was just the matchup of the fight, but I think he beats most guys at 122. He should face Tapales. Cardenas is a good fighter, and if you watch any tape on him before the Inoue fight, you'd know that he had he's good. He's very, very solid fighter. I think Cardenas versus, if I could pick the fights, I want to see Cardenas versus Neri. But see, now with Neri fighting, wait a second, hold on. I'm connecting some dots here, guys. Think about it, right? So Neri just signed a contract in Japan, right, to fight his next 5 fights in Japan. Cardenas just fought Inoue and has a bunch of Japanese fans know who he is, who knows who he is now. Imagine Cardenas versus Neri fighting each other in Japan on an Inoue undercard. That sounds feasible. That sounds feasible. That sounds sensible. That sounds like good business. Yeah, Jan said that's what I'm saying. Yeah, trying to get Jin Sasaki to Manny Pacquiao fight. That's crazy. So, and from what I know, it's a very, very big possibility if those dominoes fall. Very big possibility. I want Jin Sasaki to beat Brian Norman after the fight. We want a get back, although Jin Sasaki ain't close to Fulton's level. No, Jin is not close to. Well, I'm not gonna put Jin. I like Jin. I like Fulton, but we don't know. We're gonna find out. Like, I feel like with this fight, with Stephen Fulton's a pound for pound caliber fighter at his best. Jin is not proven that to be that yet, but Jin is a very dynamic fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds in this big fight. I was just telling one of my friends back in America on the phone before I got on this live. I was talking to one of my friends back in the States, and I told him, I said, boxing is my life. Boxing is my life. It's my passion. It's it's my job. You know, it's everything. Boxing to me, like you know how Canelo says, no boxing, no life. Like it's the same thing in the life of BT. Boxing is my everything, right? So a lot of times I go, you know, there's a lot of fights that get made, and I don't care about them. But every year in boxing, every single year in boxing, I always say there's always 2 to 3 fights that get made that I'm extra up for. So, like for example, last year there was only 2 of those fights, and those 2 fights were Odebek Komatar Raymond Ford, Angelo Leo versus Bernardo Lopez. Those are the 2 fights that I was really, really up for because I knew special things were going to happen in those fights. And style-wise, those were going to be very, very exciting matchups. And I was right on both counts because Komatar Ford became Fight of the Year, and Leo versus Lopez produced the ESPN Knockout of the Year and a Ring Magazine KO of the Year nominee. So I'm not wrong when it comes to predicting exciting fights. Jin versus Norman gives me that same feeling I had for those fights. So that's why I'm so excited about it. That's why I can't shut up about it, you know. And I'm going to the fight too, so that makes it like that takes it to the next level. And on top of that, unlike those fights, there's very significant history potentially to be made if Jin does pull off the upset. You know, Japan's never had a Japanese welterweight champion, so that's like we're talking about Japan, guys, the nation that has produced the 4th most amount of world champions in the history of boxing, only behind the USA, Mexico, and Great Britain and the UK. Let me be clear. Sasaki is a really interesting guy, but he is hopelessly stupid. His personality is bright and energetic, but he is simply stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I've watched him spar. I've watched him longer than most. I wouldn't say he's stupid. You could say he's reckless. I don't think he's stupid. Because there's a method to the madness. From what I used to think that. But over the time I've learned that there's a method to the madness. He fights the fight that works for him. And so look, a lot of guys couldn't fight how he fights and make it work for them, but he does. So it works for him. It won't work for 99% of the other welterweights. But to your point about him being stupid, I think he does need to be a bit more sophisticated in this fight with Norman, because if not, he's going to get hurt. Who are my top 5 prospects in boxing right now? My top 5 prospects. So I'll go with top 5 prospects in boxing. I'll go with Aoi Yokoyama from Japan. I'll go with him. I will go with Luis Hernandez from America, from South Florida. He's like 4-0. A lot of people don't know Luis yet, but he's coming. I will go with so we'll go Yokoyama. We'll go Luis Hernandez. We will go with I was gonna say Moses Itama, but he's not, like, he's ranked, so is he really a prospect? I mean, you can't really call him a prospect anymore. Reita Tsutsumi is in there. Him. And then I'll also say Stephen Navarro is very good. I like Stephen Navarro a lot. I think Stephen Navarro is not getting the fanfare because, like, he's a quiet guy. You saw with Top Rank, he was like a gajillion, like 18-time or 17-time U.S. amateur champion. But I think he's going to be a problem, you know? My man Jan, he says Kuratiki. Wait, Kura. I'm gonna butcher his name, but Kura Takai Hibiki, right? Hibiki. Yeah, I seen you post about him on Instagram, Jan. He's from the gym. All right, I'll keep my eyes on him. Sasaki's press conference is a good example. He is really an idiot. He has low intelligence, but a nice guy with a very good personality. All right. Fair play to you, Chep. Is he top more prospect? I mean, I would. He's a unique case because you can't really call him a prospect because he's ranked, but he's so young when you can call him a prospect. So I don't look at him as a prospect. Once you start being guys that are ranked in the top 15, and you're being mentioned to fight guys like Philip Hergovich, Justice Hooney, these kind of guys, you're not a prospect. You are very much a legitimate contender. Jin Sasaki is the real life Ippo 100%. Yeah, him and Angelo. Why aren't Ford and Nunez fighting? Because Eddie Hearn didn't want to make Ford and Nunez. Apparently, after talking about it, like all he ever did was talk about Ford Nunez Ford, and then he did all that talking just to go make him versus Kakashi. So that's why Eddie Hearn. Why not Kamel Moen? I like Kamel Moen. I'm still high on him. I still think he's got a bright future, but I've got questions about his discipline. Because he missed weight by like 4 pounds. And so for you to miss weight, like he already pulled a Keyshawn Davis and he didn't even get a belt. He didn't get to Keyshawn's level. He pulled that already. But I know how talented he is. I saw Kamel Moen fight 3 years ago in person at the Eastern qualifiers in Cleveland, Ohio in 2022. I was there with Sean Porter, and he jumped off the he stood out that day. Oh, another prospect from America who I also saw fight. I saw this kid fight Kamel Moen in the amateurs that day. Is this kid named Marcus Luther? Look out for Marcus Luther. He's another one. Now Mercado's not a prospect. He's a contender. He's ranked. One in my opinion. Once you get ranked in the top 15 by any sanctioning body, that's the immediate moment I take the prospect label off of you. I don't care what the promoter says. I don't care what the manager say. If you're ranked, in my opinion, you are a prospect. You are a contender. They said, BT, give Abel Mendoza his respect. Abel Mendoza, he's like 47-0 or whatever the hell he is. That boy ain't no prospect. Sasaki is not the most stupid. He's not the most eloquent, but he's not stupid. He's actually real perceptive, but I can see why you'd assume he's stupid. Like, I don't speak Japanese, so I don't have that level of insight into Jin's full personality like my boy Jan does in the comments. But what I can tell you is that I've seen Jin spar in the gym. I won't get into what I saw. All I know is I saw enough to know that he's not stupid. I think the word I use to describe Jin would be free-spirited. He's a very free-spirited person. Free-spirited personality, free-spirited fighter. But being free-spirited is not to be confused with being stupid. Stupid is what it is. It's stupid. He says, I have a question. Didn't say to me how the WBA title. I was looking for the champs the other day, and he doesn't have it anymore. Or did I see wrong? He's been declared the champion in recess because he has a cut, and he's informed the WBA that he can't fight anytime soon because he has to heal from a cut and surgery on his cut, and so that's why he's not the champion. He's the champion in recess, which basically means that whenever he comes back and whenever he's healthy, he becomes a mandatory challenger. So they've awarded the title, I believe, to Antonio Vargas, and Antonio Vargas will defend the belt against Daigo Higa. That's where we're at. There has been a Japanese middleweight champion. Yes, Ryota Murata. Murata was champion. There's been champions from Japan at 160, 154, lightweight, 130, and then featherweight on down, but never at 147. So that's why this is big. They're fast tracking him like crazy. I mean, they're moving him the same way they're moving Tomoya Suboi. So if you're a prospect and you're fighting your second year, if you're fighting your second and third fight for the WBO Asia Pacific title or the OBPF title, you can go. You're allowed to go the distance. That's extremely quick fast tracking. How do I rate Andy Hiroka? I love Andy Hiroka. I think Andy Hiroka is actually, he might be the most underrated top level fighter in Japan because Andy Hiroka stopped Jin Tazaki already. He stopped Ismael Barroso. So Andy Hiroka has stopped some pretty high level fighters on the world level, right? But he's not getting the same push that other guys in Japan are. He's not getting the same fanfare. And he's with Ohashi Boxing Gym. Like, he's with the most powerful people in Japan. I don't know if it's because he's not 100% Japanese, but he's not getting that push that I feel the other top guys in Japan get. Andy is amazing. Why have a recess champion when you have the interim belt? It's designed for these specific situations. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off, so you guys can correct me. But I think maybe they didn't award it to Antonio Vargas. I think Vargas might be fighting for the interim belt against Higa, and that's why I don't know, man. Sometimes there's too much politics for even me to follow. What do I think of Seiya Tsutsumi? I think Seiya Tsutsumi is amongst the Japanese champions. So when they had Nishida with the belt, him, Takei, and Junto, I thought that Tsutsumi is the second best Japanese bantamweight world champion. I think he's very, very hard to beat. Tsutsumi can actually really box. He has this reputation for being a very, very reckless fighter because he is. But if you go back and you watch some of his earlier fights against guys like Kazuki Nakajima, who was also an Ohashi fighter, he boxed that fight. And he can box orthodox, and he can box southpaw, and he can pressure you, and he can be a volume puncher. But what I believe, and I can't prove this is just my belief. I believe that, because he beat Nakajima, but he wasn't the A side fighter. Nakajima was, because he had Ohashi in his corner. They robbed him, and they scored the fight. They scored the fight a draw and bailed out Nakajima. And I feel like from that point forward, Tsutsumi realized that when he fights certain guys of influence, especially in Japan, he needs to really make it abundantly clear that he won the fight. So ever since then, he's fought a very aggressive style. That's why when he fought Teofimo Inoue, he was in his chest the whole fight. But he can actually really box. I've seen him do it in the gym, and I've seen it in I've seen him do it in the gym, and I've seen him do it in his earlier fights. So he's a beast. No, Tsutsumi is a beast. I love him. Let me see. We got born and raised in Japan, and his first language is Japanese. I understand that, Jan. I know that, but he's still he doesn't look like a regular Japanese person. That's what I'm saying. Maybe they're not giving him that. I'm trying to make sense of why he doesn't get more push, and the only thing I can come up with is that he doesn't look like a normal Japanese fighter. That's what I believe, honestly, because he's not one of these fighters where you gotta protect him. He's that damn good where you can literally say, look, any 140 pounder you want, you put Andy in there with them, and you can live with your chances against the guys like Teo or Gary Anton Russell or Hitchens or whoever. But I don't think he's in my opinion, I don't think he's getting the push he deserves, because I think it's something outside of boxing. If it's not what I'm saying it is, I think it's something else. Hiroko knows what he needs to do. He spoke a little English in his post-fight interview. Basically, all of his opponents are foreign. He has to come to America. That could be it too. That's a good point, because in the lighter weight categories, a lot of these guys like Inoue and Kenshiro, they had the advantage of Japan being the home of the lighter weight categories, where they can pay the most money and get foreigners to come fight them here. But when you start getting past featherweight, 130 on up, it's not like that no more. And the Japanese got to come to America. So you're right. That would take them a long way. If there was anything you would change in boxing today, what would it be? Oh my God. If there was one thing I could change in boxing today, it'd probably be two things. Two things immediately come to mind. Number one, I would have boxing start honoring mandatories in a much more efficient manner. I feel like the rule that sanctioning bodies give fighters to file exemptions it allows fighters to avoid their mandatories for too long. And I feel like it's really watered down what it means to be a mandatory in the first place. That's probably the first thing. The second thing I would say would be, and I'm speaking more from the American perspective here, not Japan. I want more severe punishment for missing weight. I mean, because guys like not Hitchens, guys like Keyshawn Davis, Shakur, Ryan Garcia, they're not getting punished the way they should. Like, because here in Japan, you miss weight by a couple of ounces, you getting banned for a year. Get out of here. No good. Unprofessional. No class. No sportsmanship. How do you not make weight? Like that. That's how they treat it in Japan. But in America, it's like dudes, like they find a way to kind of buck the system. So that, and then Jan probably brought up what Jan right here. He brought up what I should have said, which is a fighters union. I mean, like, and I'm sure now with him having a professional fight. And by the way, make sure you guys go support my boy Jan back because he's fighting, I believe, June 8th again at Corkin Hall. In the Lamino heavyweight tournament. So I'll still be here in Japan and I'll be there to support him. But shout out to him. But he said a fighters union. I'm sure he knows how hard he knows to the degree of how hard it is to be a fighter now. And I would definitely say a fighters union would be great, like a universal fighters union across the world where fighters get looked after, because this is the most punishing sport in the world, and there's not really anybody looking after the fighters. It's kind of like a garage sale. I would bring back mandatory open scoring for all world title fights. I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion here. I don't like that idea. The reason being is because think about it from a television standpoint. One of the things that makes boxing exciting when you watch a world title fight is that you don't know what the score is. You have an idea of what it could be, but you don't really know, and you wait to hear the words "and the new" or "and still." But if you already know the score and you already know what's happening, it takes away the drama from "and still" or "and the new." So to counteract that, what I would do is I would have boxing go to an odd number of rounds, because 12 rounds is an even number. So if there's an even number, that means there can be draws. I don't like draws. I don't think there should be draws, but draws are good for the boxing business, so that's why they have them. But I would go to either 13 rounds or 11 rounds, straight up, just so there's no draws. Contracts getting violated, healthcare, health checkups, more drug tests. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need that for the fighters. I would say that for sure. We need to get that for the fighters, but like part of it too, like it's a two-way street, because okay, if the sanctioning bodies or whatever the case may be got together and started and helped start or fund a fighters union, let's just say, right, hypothetically, let's say every year in boxing, the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF all put in a percentage of their earnings from sanctioning fees for a fighters union. I think it would also require a certain amount of like cooperation amongst the fighters, and I think part of the reason why you may not have a fighters union is because sometimes fighters can't sit together on things. So it's just a lot of things have to go right for there to be a fighters union. And now that I kind of mentioned that out loud, I think that's something that should be happening in boxing. I think every sanctioning body in boxing should have to share like a certain percentage of their sanctioning fees to fighter healthcare and a fighters union. How about that? Because if you think about it, right, the fighters are going to pay what I think to fight for a title. Sometimes these sanctioning fees can run you up about $100,000 just for one title, or $200,000 for a world title. So that's why sometimes you guys don't see unification fights, because it costs money to go undisputed. I mean, when Crawford fought Julius Ndongo, he paid roughly, I think, like $300,000 or $400,000 in sanctioning fees to go undisputed. So sometimes it's not even financially beneficial to go undisputed. You make more money fighting with only one belt, or if your name's big enough, dropping the belt. But I think every sanctioning body should have to pay a certain amount of their sanctioning fees to back to the fighters in some way or form, in the form of like healthcare or union or something like that, you know. Do I see Junto's star power growing after the fight? I mean, Junto is not a big star here in Japan like that. He's really only known amongst the hardcore boxing fans. But I think these next couple of fights, with his name getting attached more to Inoue, I think he's kind of gonna experience some of what Dave Benavidez experienced in America. You know, when Benavidez started getting linked to Canelo, it grew his star power just having his name attached to him. People started to tune into his fights more just to see who is this guy that everybody says can be Canelo. So, same sort of thing. What are my thoughts on what are your thoughts on instead of 3% they add a small percentage more to pay for healthcare or retirement fund? Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that because, like I said, as many of you guys know, I mean, I've got my fair share of friends at a high level in the fight game, and I've seen some shit. I've seen some crazy things, and you know, I have a good idea of what boxing can take from someone, inside and outside the ring. So, yeah, I would like to see something like that, but it's just a lot of things have to happen. Not a boxing question, but what do you watch anime? What is your top anime? My two favorite animes are both boxing animes. I don't watch like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or anything like that. I don't watch any non-boxing animes. So my two favorite boxing animes are, of course, Hajime no Ippo, and then this boxing anime movie which I watched back in December. It's called 1 Pound Gospel. So it's like a cult classic. So yup, that's kind of where it begins and ends anime wise. They should pay to have an app where fans can vote on the top 15 in the sanctioning bodies monthly, and it'll be a ranked choice. And if you remember, you can flex how long and get cheer pay reviews. It's a good idea in theory. The only reason why I would be against fans ranking fighters is that certain fighters from other countries like Uganda or like African countries or Central American countries that don't get as much exposure, fans won't know those guys, so those guys won't get in the rankings. So I feel like there should be a checks and balance systems where the fans get a say, but I still do believe in certain aspects of how things are now. I think there's some things you keep and there's some things you get rid of. But yeah, shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, reporting to you guys live and direct from the luxury True School Sports estate. We here, just getting another live in for you guys, trying to keep the momentum going. We're like 11 days from, not 11 days. What are we? Eight days? What are we? I'm losing track of the days. How many days are we away now? We are 8 days away from Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin. So make sure you guys stay tuned because there's a lot of content coming out here on True School Sports regarding that fight. Let me see. We got more comments. We got how did I get this place? I'll tell you in person. I won't say it on a live, but you know, God is good. God is good. I'm a blessed guy. BT, the sanctioning bodies could list only acceptable fighters, then the fans can rank them. Well, okay, yeah, well, you didn't say that. You just said they can vote on 15 guys, you know? So, yeah. I don't, in that case, I like that idea. You know, have the sanctioning bodies still use the regional titles, rank the guys in the top 15, but then, you know, the fans could have a say. I like that. Anaguchi's death was so unfortunate. Japan has so many boxing casualties. Japan has so many boxing casualties compared to the rest of the world. Yes, they do. Probably more than anywhere in the world. Because these guys don't really like quit in their fights, and then the trainers don't look after them as far as throwing in the towel. They let fights go on longer than they should. And it's that whole like Bushido samurai culture that leaks its way into boxing. So that's why I think. But it's weird because the same thing, the same reason why I love Japanese boxing are some reasons are also the same reasons that make it very, very barbaric, you know? the bravery, the all that. Oh no, he's retiring. He's 1000% retiring. No ifs and buts about it. Hey BT, just came back from the dentist. Sorry if someone already asked this, but who would you like to see Nishida face? No, actually, Nishida. That's a good question. Nishida. Give me let me see. Let me go to the rankings. I would like to see Nishida fight. I'll say Kevin Gonzalez or Marlon Tapales or Shabazz Masood. One of those three. There's plenty of options. There's plenty of good, options for him. It seems hotels in Japan are really affordable. I wouldn't go that far. I'm not staying in a hotel, but God is good. That's all I can say. Airbnbs are very affordable, though. I'll say that because I've stayed in plenty of Airbnbs, and like the Japan has like these overnight spas. I've stayed in those before. Those are affordable. The internet cafes, those are somewhat affordable. I saw another crevice to Nakatani's game. What did you see, champ? Inoue and Nakatani clash. Can you see Nakatani and Inoue having too much pride and making mistakes against a fellow Japanese boxer? Yes, 1000%. That's what I'm saying. That's why you guys keep hearing me say Inoue has to tighten up his defense, because I've watched so many top Japanese fights, and these guys always fight a little harder when it's against each other. They always do. They always go to another place mentally. They bite down harder on that gum shield, and it gets real, like, just gets real gruesome in there. So I think he has to go ahead and tighten up, because I feel like if Inoue doesn't, it'll be bad. I think he needs to pick his spots. Don't let Junto be the volume puncher. And when you and punch in between the shots, be the counter puncher and use your explosiveness to your advantage. Jan says it depends on what you consider affordable. That's true. Yeah, because there's a lot of places in Japan that are not that are pretty pricey. But I'm not a rich man, but not yet at least. Shout out to Matt with the $5 super chat. He says, I didn't know Nakatani had such a good inside game, and he's good mid-range and long-range. Thinking about it, I favor Nakatani since he's so well-rounded. He's very well-rounded. I'm gonna push back a little bit about him being a great inside fighter. I don't think he's a great inside fighter. I think he can punch the body, but I don't look at him as an inside fighter. Actually, what I learned in the Nishida fight is that Junto Nakatani needs to get a little physically stronger, because if he's got any ambition to go to featherweight, because Rudy Hernandez has talked about up there against guys like Espinoza. Listen, he needs to get physically stronger. I'm not talking about punching power or anything like that, because your punching power and your strength of your punches and your actual physical strength are two different things. Physical strength is important because when you fight in close quarters, physical strength is what allows you to push your opponents back in the clinches and prevent them from holding you. So I think that's something he needs to improve on. But thank you for the super chat. Jeffrey says, heard the news, can't share might be fighting Ricardo Sandoval. What do you think, BT? Oh, that's an awesome fight. That's actually an amazing fight. And I'll give Ken Shield credit for taking that fight, because Ricardo Sandoval is one of the most underrated fighters in the weight class. He's been on Golden Weight Promotions forever, winning fights, doing his thing. Hasn't been able to get a shot. And truthfully speaking, if you guys want to keep it all the way a spade, all the way 100%, Ricardo Sandoval is a guy that should have got consideration for a Bam Rodriguez fight. Should have got consideration for, potentially an Anthony Olasquaga fight. But he just been like nobody knows who he is. Like even me being the boxing degenerate that I am, I've only done one Ricardo Sandoval video because he's like so under promoted by Golden Boy that you forget about him, and he's not much of a talker. So it is what it is. Inoue is the Mike McCallum of the body snatching though. He's top 3 in the sport, so maybe he's stronger there. Inoue, I think, is a better body puncher than Junto. I don't like both. I don't really classify either one of them as a inside fighter. Like, nah, neither one of them are like inside fighters. Now, can they both punch to the body? Yes, but that doesn't. Body punching is only one aspect of inside fighting. It's not inside fighting as a whole. David Jimenez whooped Sandoval. He did, but David Jimenez is good. He can beat a lot of guys, and he has beaten some guys. He beat John Scrappy Ramirez, but Sandoval's still good. Like, he still deserves his shot. He's been pounding the pavement for a long time, trying to go ahead and get the big fights, and it sounds like he's gonna get the big fight. So good on him. Let me see. Jimenez has been getting denied opportunities for over a year. He has been the interim champion since May 24th. You know what? I think I need to do a David Jimenez video because my friend Hyro, who was in the chat earlier, he was going off about how I don't talk about David Jimenez. And, he has beaten some good fighters and been in there with some good fighters, and I never talked about him. So, I'm going to do a video on him soon. Jinjiro Shigioka is in a sensitive situation. We have lost our future champion, and Tsusumi's boxing shorts are marked with Anai's name. Yeah, for sure. It's part of the sport. Japan has a way of like reminding you of how crazy this fight game can be. What's at stake. It's too late here. It's too late for what? Like in Japan, it's like 3:55 a.m. in the morning. What are the 2 fights that have you really excited being announced this year, or the ones that the fight that I'm most excited about right now is Jin Sasaki versus Brian Norman Jr. Truth be told, like I was excited for Angelo's fight because I'm part of the team. I'm wearing the Team Leo jacket right now. But I really wasn't excited for Kameda and Angelo, the fight itself, as I was for this fight right here with Jin and Brian. Jin and Brian is like such a great fight stylistically. And I like both of them. I'm a big fan of both guys. Apart from that fight, there really isn't. Let me see. Let me go read the schedule. Let me see if I can find a fight that I think I'm as excited for as Jin and Brian. Because right now, that's the only fight I can say like I'm over the moon about, like, to where I can't stop thinking about it. And right now, for me to even think about boxing right now, guys, is hard because the Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup final again. They're 2 wins away from being the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So it's like boxing taking a backseat to everything, even though it's my job and I make content. But like that, so for me to even be thinking about a fight while the Panthers are in the Stanley Cup final on this level, I have to be excited about it. So that fight will be number 1. Let me see. Is there anything else that really jumps off the page in boxing right now to that degree for me? Nah, not really. I would say the only fight I would say I'm really, really excited about, but it's not on the Brian Jin level. I would say Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach rematch. That's a fight I'm really excited about. The only fight that could get me as excited as Jin versus Brian is for the rest of this year is if like Rafael Espinosa and Angelo fight for the unification. Then it's time to go to war. Then I'll be excited. But other than that, it's not like it's not too many fights out there that get me to this level of excitement. Let me see. We did get another super chat. Let me go ahead and let me go right here. I hate the Bam Glaze by so many pundits. His resume is legitimately a gold-crusted dookie. All good names all good names if they were 5 years younger. Yeah, I mean, like I'm not gonna hate on Bam because Bam, when he fought Quadras, he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. So even if Quadras was old, he fought him on 2 weeks' notice. So there's something to be said about that. I ain't mad at that. But yeah, he has. You're not wrong, and I've not criticized him, but I've highlighted it, the fact that like he fights a bunch of old people, and then like he's got a Japanese promoter, and he's in a weight class. He's in weight classes with plenty of Japanese fighters. Doesn't fight any of these top young Japanese guys in his weight class. So that there's a whole lot of holes in his resume. But Bam is definitely one of the top talents out there. I'm not gonna sit there and hate. That's just disingenuous. But like Bam versus Olas Kuaga, that's a fight that should be made. Bam versus Junto, Bam versus Ricardo Sandoval. There's 3 Mexican Americans he could have fought. And they're not making them. Let's go. He says, man like Matt Borgeson single-handedly funding independent boxing media. Yes. You guys don't understand. You guys keep the channel alive. Like, I don't got no big time sponsors, paying me a truckload of money. I might one day, but you guys help me keep coming to Japan. Thank you. Nakatani and Kensho have way better resumes than Bam. I agree with that, because everyone, like, he fought like, and what's funny? I'm gonna tell you guys a story. Like in Robert Garcia's niece, shout out to KL Christie. We're good friends, and she got mad at me one time because I guess you seen the video where I was saying Gaio Estrada was old as shit, because he was. When Gaio fought Bam, he was shot to pieces, and anyone who looked at his legs could see that. And truth be told, like, he fought the most compromised version of Gaio and still got put on his ass. So, I still got questions about Bam, but he's definitely a top fighter. There's no debating that. But is there an element of protection? Is there an element of over management? Is there, we'll see. I think the Kenshiro fight would answer a lot of questions if they made it right now, but I don't think they're gonna make it right now. I think they're gonna wait, like, because to my knowledge, Bam is not fully a Mr. Honda fighter. He's not a Tekken Promotions fighter. He trains at Misako Boxing Gym. He trains at BMB Boxing Gym in Kyoto as well. So those gyms handle Kenshiro and have a piece of him. He's not an outright Mr. Honda fighter. Now, Bam, he's an outright, like, yeah, Eddie Hearn has his American rights and his American television, but Bam is Tekken Promotions. So guess what? There's vested interest in Mr. Honda to want Bam to beat Kenshiro. So I think they're going to wait for Kenshiro to look a little old, look a little vulnerable, then Bam's going to fight him. That's what I think. Bam, and shout out to Howard, the super chat, says Bam got dropped by an inactive shot. Gaio Estrada. I told you. There you go. Howard with the trademark. I told you. Yeah, you did. You did. BT, I just read Shigeoka is awake. His eyes opening and moving, but he's not responsive and he can't talk. I read the same thing. Udai Shigeoka mentioned it on his social media. So look, my prayers are with Jinjiro, man. His career is probably done, but I don't want his life to be over. May God bless and protect him and his family and everyone involved, because I know it's got to be hard. But look, that's the reality of the fight game, guys. Anytime somebody goes in that ring, they can either die or come out like a vegetable to where they can't even talk no more. That's how serious boxing is. So that's why when Angelo comes out the ring healthy, I'm always like grateful, regardless of the result. BT, who do you think Seigo Yuri should fight next after his best performance against Kenshiro? Oof. I made a video. I want to see him fight. Who did I say? I made a whole video about it. Who did I say I wanted to see him fight? It was a while ago. Maybe like Kiyoguchi. Give me him versus Kiyoguchi. I think those two, they both lost in that card, but they're both ex-world champions. They're both a credit to Japanese boxing. I don't see why we can't do that one. And speaking of Kyoguchi, because I saw a comment earlier from a man, my boy Jan. Where is it? He said Kyoguchi getting robbed was insane. I was live there, and that decision was hard to watch. Yeah, like it's crazy. Even a Japanese fighter can get robbed in Japan if they don't got certain people behind them. It's crazy. I thought he won. I thought objectively speaking, I thought that was Kyoguchi's best, one of his best, arguably the best performance of his career, and it was a loss. Nobody thought he had the capability to box 12 discipline rounds. BT, who do you? Yeah, I already answered that. No, Bam versus Taraji is Kenshiro was like the best. It's one of the best fights you can make in boxing. Yeah. History wants to see Seigo Yuriakui versus Masamichi Ibuki too. Man, Ibuki don't want that smoke. He don't want to fight. He don't want to fight that bad man from Okoyama. He don't want that smoke. He don't want to fight. Ibuki don't want to fight him. Ibuki don't want to fight that stone cold killer from Okayama, because you know what happened last time they fought. Seigo Yuriakui drilled Ibuki in like 2 rounds. But nah, all jokes aside, I think it'd be a really good fight. I think it'd be a really, really amazing fight for boxing and Japanese boxing, because Ibuki, quiet as kept. We've been talking about Japanese fighters for like almost 2 hours on this channel, but quiet as kept. Masamichi Ibuki is like arguably top 5 pound for pound in Japan right now. 2-division champion, only got to beat Kenshiro. I mean, he's got some pretty distinct accolades. He done fought everyone. He fought Junto. He fought Seigo Yuriakui. He fought. His resume is like insane. Win, lose, or draw. Like his resume is insane. I was so mad seeing Kyoguchi getting robbed against Olas Kuaga since I picked Kyoguchi to win. I picked Olas Kuaga to win, but he was so disappointing. I'm not biased. Like I'm not. I call it how I see it. He got outboxed. That's what I'm saying. Afro Jam. Ibuki himself. I mean, you know what? Let's give the young man some shine. Let's give Ibuki some shine, because he deserves it. We spent all this time talking about Junto and Inoue and Kenshiro and all these other guys. Let's give this man some shine, because quiet as kept. This guy is actually the hardest punching fighter in all of Japan. Forget Inoue, forget Junto, forget Seigo, forget all them guys. Ibuki is the because if you ask all these guys that have fought him or sparred him, you ask Seigo, if you ask Kenshiro, if you ask all of them, they'll all tell you to a man, the guy that hit me the hardest was Ibuki. So look, 18-4, 17 knockouts, 2-division champion, right? Look who he's beat. Beat Angel Ayala, Nochinga, knocked out Kenshiro. And then he's also fought Seigo Yuriakui, and he's fought Junto Nakatani when he was a prospect. So his resume is crazy. He's got knockouts over top fighters. This is what a upper echelon fighter looks like, ladies and gentlemen. He's pound for pound one of the hardest punching fighters, not just from Japan. I even just to only say Japan is disrespectful to him. He's one of the hardest punching fighters pound for pound in the world, in the entire sport of boxing. You see the knockout ratio, 94%. You see, hold on, let me scroll down for you. 94%. And as you can see, he ain't fighting cream puffs. He ain't fighting cans. He's fighting top guys. Nochinga, champion 2 times. Angel Ayala, undefeated, Mexican, good boxer. Kenshiro Taraji, pound for pound, future Hall of Famer. So, yeah, I love Ibuki. I love everything he brings to the sport. I love everything he brings to just boxing in general. My man Tyson says the correct Japanese pound for pound is Inoue 1, Taraji 2. I like that. Okay, you got that right. Nakatani 3. I like that. Okay. Nishida. I like Nishida. I think he's very underrated. I think Nishida's way too high. No way in hell should Nishida be above Ibuki. Ibuki should be number 4. Ibuki's a clear 4. I would actually have Ibuki 4, Seigo at 5. Then I would have like Nishida. To me, he's more like 7. I think he's more like. I think you got him too high, champ. That's just me though. I think he's too high. Good fighter, but the body of work ain't what the other guys got. Truth be told. Shout out to my man Chang with the $10 super chat. Your contribution is appreciated, champ. He says, in my opinion, Junto and Bam will lose to the Monster at 122. Well, listen, Bam is not going to fight Inoue. I think Mr. Honda controls both their careers, and you know how Mr. Honda has a very, very distinct way of promoting. So I don't think they'll fight each other. I also think that the weight classes are too far apart. But Junto, I don't know, man. See, to me, it all depends. If Inoue fights Junto right after Akhmadaliev, I will pick Inoue. But if he lets Junto get 2 more fights and then fight him, I'm picking Junto. Straight up, I'm picking Junto. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. It just depends on the scenario. But yeah, I would say Bam is never gonna happen, and Junto's a pick 'em fight. But I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you for having confidence in Inoue. Inoue is one of the best fighters in the world, if not the best fighter in the world, and one of the best fighters of all time, point blank, period. You know, and the only guy in the history of Japanese boxing that's even close to his level is fighting Harada. You know, which I think there's a debate to be had about if he's better than fighting Harada. But you know, special fighter. Will Tenshin fight for the world title as next fight, BT? If they want to do Yoshiki Takei, that's what's expected. You know, why not? If not that, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, again, respecting Nishida, but like Nishida is not above Ibuki, and I wouldn't have him above Yokui or Tsutsumi. You know? Y'all said, I gotta sleep. This live is too interesting. That means you have to stop this live so I can sleep. Well, or John, you could just come back and watch the remaining parts you missed. I'm not sure how much longer I'm gonna be live because the sun is coming up. The sun, like, look, I don't know. Hold on, can I reverse it? Because I'm on StreamYard. Hold on, I'm on StreamYard, so I can't reverse it. So I'm gonna show you guys. Look, I want to show you guys the view from the luxurious True School Estates. Look. The sun is coming up soon. They call this land of the rising sun. It's literally like 4:10. It's 4:10 a.m. The sun is gonna come up. So, you know, I don't know how much longer I got. You know, if the chat keeps going, I'm thinking maybe like 15 more. I'll go 15, maybe 20 more minutes because eventually I gotta get some rest too. But shout out to everybody who's here rocking with me. You know, in the States. You know, everybody back in America. I know it's the afternoon, so if you're at work, if you're on your lunch break, or you're on your way home, or getting ready to go to work, you know, thank you for spending time with me. If you're in Japan, then good morning to you. And if you're anywhere else in the world, shout out to you, you know. BT, with Matchroom signing Antonio Vargas, do you think that means Bam is moving up to 118? Yes, Bam is definitely moving up to 118. I don't know if it's specifically for Vargas, but I think with Junto leaving the division, he'll fight for one of those vacant titles. If Nakatani gets injured next year, the tickets for Tokyo Dome will be sold out if the person to be changed is Nishida. You know, Taisa, you brought up a great point. I noticed that when Nishida fought Junto, he had a lot of support. Why is he so popular? I believe he's from Osaka, so a lot of people came to the fight. Why is he so popular? Because by every metric, it seems like he's not that popular, but he had as many fans as Junto, if not more, when they fought each other. I don't think Bam ducked Junto because Bam doesn't have, like, guys, it's not an option. I don't think Bam and Junto can't fight. Mr. Honda will not let them fight each other. I'm telling you guys that right now. That's why I always tell everyone, like, don't even mention that fight to me because it's not going to happen. I've never been more sure of anything in my entire life. So it's on Inoue Show to make that Junto hype for the worldwide market. No, like Inoue is not gonna talk. You know, he don't even speak English. Like, he can't do that even if he wanted to. The fight sells itself. It's 2 guys on the pound list, 2 Japanese fighters on the pound list, undefeated at the peak of their powers, fighting for undisputed. There is no other way to cut it up, slice it, and dice it. His wife is supposed to be hot. I mean, I'm not here to talk about guys' wives, but whose wife? Bam ducked Kenshiro. Now, see that's one where you might have more of a case because Kenshiro is not directly controlled by, like, he's controlled because damn near any fighter at that level in Japan is, but he's like, he's got a bit more leeway to do what he wants, So I think that's more makeable. Nishida, okay. Well, shout out to him. Do your thing. I'm glad. He's doing well for himself. But yeah, it's your boy BT, Brendan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, reporting to you guys live and direct from the land of the rising sun. Look, hold on. Let's step out. Let's step out. Let's go. Let's go onto the balcony real quick. I need some fresh air anyway. So we're here, guys, from the balcony of the True School luxury estate. Look, the sun's coming up. You know what? We'll end the live here, guys. We'll end the live. We'll go like 5. We'll go 10 more minutes here on the balcony, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up because the sun is coming up, and I do want to get some sleep. But I've had a great time with you guys. Get your questions in. Keep them coming. Hold on. Let me get my computer. Send Nishida's wife. Let me get the computer. Because for StreamYard has been weird. Like, StreamYard has this feature, or like when you click the comments on the phone, it doesn't just highlight the comments. So I have to keep the computer near me, so I can click your guys' comments. But we'll go 10 more minutes and then we'll end the live because I'm starting to get a little tired. What people don't understand about these lives and these videos is that they require a lot of mental stamina and endurance. And if you don't stay in rhythm, it's like getting out of shape in boxing. Straight up. But let me see. Who else we got? Go inside, the neighbors will hear you. With Japanese walls, it would be unfriendly. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I was out here one time and I talked pretty low, but you're right. It is pretty early. Hold on, let me get my ass inside. You're right. Fuck it. Let me go inside. Because I'm not trying to. I'm not really trying to make my presence felt where I'm staying. So, you're right. You're definitely right. Plus, people are sleeping too, so you don't want to be too loud. It's better in here. All right. Anyway, what was it? You should go to the World Expo in Osaka. It's literally a once in a lifetime event for Japan to host it. Yeah, I saw when I was in Osaka for Angelo's fight. I saw a bunch of signs for it. But what is the World Expo? As an American trying to break through Japan's rank as a nobody, I think Hachiyoshi Gym would likely be the best. You're talking about yourself, Reverse? All right, Jan. All right. Thank you for joining. BT, do you think Ioya Yokoyama who do I think Yokoyama should fight next? Him? Oh, man. I hope that him versus Takayama, I like them both, and I'm cool with both of them. Selfishly, I wouldn't want to see that fight because I'm a fan of both guys, but that'd be a great fight. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but I think they'll target somebody that's not in Japan. They won't do that fight. Yeah, I mean, do what you gotta do, champ. Do whatever you feel is best. Nishida's wife used to be more famous than Nishida. Sakai Kono, a college classmate and former amateur boxer, won 3 consecutive she could fight. She got them hand skills. Okay, good for her. Good for her. God bless her. You know what, guys? Look, I think we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes now. So look, I'm tired. I need to get some rest, guys. You guys get some rest too. Well, if you're in Japan, get some rest. If you're in America, enjoy your day. But look, I'm gonna end the live. Inoue Nakatani getting closer and closer. There's gonna be like a gajillion more videos on this. When I wake up, you know, I'm gonna go move around and get outside where I'm staying for a little bit. But when I get back, I'm gonna edit my Brian Norman interview, and it should be out. And the Brian Norman interview will be out in the next 24 to 36 hours. So stay on the lookout for it. It'll be out soon. You don't want to miss it. And yeah, I'm gonna catch some I'm gonna catch some Z's. You guys have a great day. God bless. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding from Daniel. So until next time, take your eyes.